From 4 News Now, with live updates throughout the day, breaking news as it happens, and weather every 10 minutes. This is KXLY Plus.
Good morning. For 4 News Now, I'm Rob King. Tonight, debuting exclusively on KXLY Plus is a new series that we're doing, taking a look at some of the most bizarre and violent crimes that we've had here in Spokane. It's a true crime series. Here is a little bit more about that.
The South Hill rapist, Kevin Coe, a name that haunted Spokane.
He is mentally disordered and dangerous.
From hypnosis to hitmen and a shocking family twist.
Ha! My son didn't do it.
This is the case that terrified a city, and it's where we begin. Kevin Coe, episode 1 of the 509's Most Notorious Crimes, a new true crime series from 4 News Now. Premieres Wednesday, streaming live and commercial-free on KXLY Plus.
And here to talk a little bit more about it is our news director and my boss, Melissa Luck. Melissa, how are you?
I'm good. You don't have to point out that I'm your boss during this, but
we believe in transparency. I think that's people like to know that. Why don't we talk about what the new series that's going to be on KXLY Plus, the 509's Most Notorious Crimes, how did it come to be?
Yeah, we've been, talking about over the years wanting to offer more local news on our streaming platform on KXLY Plus, which hopefully people are watching on now, and just thinking about some of the more bizarre and interesting things that have happened in the Spokane area. If you've been here for a long time, the way I always describe it to people is it's a safe place to live, but weird things happen here. And over the years, we talk about this sometimes in the newsroom of, oh, do you remember this crime or you remember this story? And realize like we should be sharing these with people. We have all of this archived footage, and why not kind of put that out for more people to see. We know there is a huge interest in true crime. I mean, there's entire channels dedicated to it. So why not share not only some of the stranger things that have happened here and how they've impacted our community, but also it's sort of a piece of Spokane history to look back at these things that have happened. And as we've looked through some of these cases, you can really see how the city has changed throughout the years as you look back through the lens of these particular crimes that we're covering.
And I think, it's a growing city. Also, we see Spokane and the surrounding areas always growing. So there's new people that aren't like, for me, when I moved here, I wasn't aware of a lot of these huge things that you and some of your colleagues covered.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been in Spokane for 23 years almost. It'll be 23 years next week. And so I've covered a lot of the crimes that we're talking about. I mean, just these big, bizarre national headline grabbing stories, and then you look back through and I've looked through some of the archive footage and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's right by my kid's school, or I live near here, or this just happened down the street. And I think it does kind of give people a different perspective of how much things have changed. One thing that's a little bit strange just after looking through this is there's so much talk about crime in cities all over the country, including Spokane, and people saying, oh, it's so dangerous now. Folks, the danger that was happening here in the 80s and 90s is completely different than what we're seeing now. When we looked back through one of these cases, the Kevin Coe case, we've got records that show that in 1980, they were investigating 150 violent rapes in the city of Spokane. Now you might look at crime statistics and it might be 10 or 15 a year. So it's interesting to look back at just through the lens of that, but also it does give you good perspective about how much this community has really changed too.
And you talked about this, but the first one that we're doing in the debut episode is going to be on Kevin Coe, which wasn't the initial plan. That sort of came out organically because Kevin Coe got back into the headlines with his recent release. So talk a little bit about how this first one kind of came to be.
Yeah, we've been talking about doing this series for probably the last couple months, and we knew the Kevin Coe case would be one of the cases we would feature. There's a couple that you can't talk about notorious crimes in Spokane without talking about the serial killer. Spokane serial killer is one, Kevin Coe is the other. So it was on our list, and we probably would have had it in the first few episodes. But when everything started to happen with Kevin Coe being released, we thought we've got to not only push this up to the top of the list, we've got to put this series out faster. People are so hungry for information about this case because, we've been covering it for the last couple of weeks, and I think I take for granted how much people really know about this. But the more you talk about this, and he had his mom that tried to hire a hitman to kill the judge and the prosecutor. You had his dad that was a newspaper editor. They were from an upscale Spokane family. Just all of the different elements that are involved in that case we realized that in the context of him being released, telling the context of the entire story and everything that happened would be important, and to get it out as quickly as possible. With him being in the headlines just last week, I don't think that we would have expected, a month ago or two when we were planning this series, that we would have essentially a resolution in the South Hill rapist case that was ready to put at the end of the special. And we had the whole thing produced and then had to add on what happened last week in court as a way to kind of end this. So yeah, we would have done this case all along, but this definitely got pushed to the top of our list when everything happened in the last few weeks.
And what are some of the other crimes that people can expect to see as this series moves along?
Yeah, we're looking at this right now as a 10-part series, and as you mentioned, exclusively streaming on KXLY Plus. The Kevin Coe case, obviously, tonight at 7 o'clock is the debut. The Spokane serial killer is on the list as well, and I've been looking through the old archive footage. That's what's actually really interesting about this too, not only to see the stories and explain what happened, but to see it through the eyes of the journalists of that time, to look back and go, okay, there's a story that we're running in the serial killer case of when there were 3 women that were killed in the span of a few weeks, and they thought it eventually was the Spokane serial killer. Turns out it was another serial killer that was on the loose at the same time, and that was Douglas Perry. That's another one we're going to feature, and that has a really interesting component. Those cases were cold for about 20 years. There's the case of DeBartolo, who was a Spokane police officer who murdered his wife in Lincoln Park and then actually shot himself to cover up the crime. That's actually the next episode that we're working on. That one will be out in 2 weeks. Kevin Harpham, who is the man who tried to bomb the Martin Luther King parade in downtown Spokane not that many years ago. We also are working on one of the episodes that's going to feature, my working title is Old Timey Crimes. I got to come up with something better. But when you look back deep in Spokane's history, there are some bizarre things that have happened here over the years. So we're trying to find some of those. We don't have archive video for them. We don't have film that we can pull, but to look back at really some of 1920s, 30s, 40s crimes that happened here, that I just think it gives you a different perspective when you drive around town, when you can see where these things have happened. So working on 10 episodes for the Spokane area. If things go according to plan, the next series we would do is about the North Idaho's most notorious crimes, and you're looking at an entirely different set of stories there. You're talking about the Aryan Nations, you're talking about Ruby Ridge, you're talking about Joseph Duncan, Brian Koberger, still very fresh, but this area has all of these stories that have, again, not only context of what happened, and people that are interested in true crime would be interested in them, but I think if you see them through the lens of the history of our community, it just is a history lesson you're not going to learn in 10th grade history class. At least I don't think so.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And to be able to have the footage and, like you said, the lens of the time that these happened in is going to be fascinating. And I know I'm excited about it. Do you have anything else you want to add before I let you go?
No, just want to let people know how to watch these. So we've been promoting it, but not everybody has KXLY Plus downloaded, which you should, because you can not only watch this, but you can watch our live newscasts as well. So if you have a smart TV, which a lot of people do now, download KXLY Plus. You can do it through Roku, Amazon Fire Stick, or just your smart TV. So download that app on your TV, and tonight at 7 o'clock you can watch that premiere, starting with the Kevin Coe case. Robin Nance is your guide through the seedy underbelly of the South Hill in the 70s and 80s. And that's the big thing, is just watch it there, and then just know that for the next every week or two for the next rest of the year, basically, we'll be putting out new episodes. So you'll want to sign up not only for KXY Plus, but also download our app, and you'll get a push notification when those new episodes are coming. But it's free to download, free to watch, commercial free. And I think it's one of those things that people will be talking about. So you might as well watch. And so you have something to talk about with your friends on the soccer sidelines this weekend, when you can talk about the old-timey Spokane cases.
All right, Melissa Luck, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Rob.
And like Melissa said, you can watch the debut episode of the 509's Most Notorious Crimes tonight on KXLY Plus, available to download for free on things like your Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. We'll have our newscast and a KXLY Plus live update coming up at 4 o'clock, and then our news at 5 and 6. For now, live in studio, I'm Rob King for 4 News Now.